If I may say one other thing, a lot of emotion is attached to our work, how excited we are about it and whatever. And emotions are great things, but as I often say, emotions are not decision makers, they're indicators. So they may indicate something about where you are, what you're excited about, but they shouldn't be our driving decision makers.
Welcome to A Founder's Life, and I'm your host, Leo Gestetner. My guests and myself share our entrepreneurial journeys and our methods for a balanced life. I'm joined here today by Mary Dunn. Mary, thank you for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me. Yes. I started in a career out of college that was sales and sales management. And along the way, as we all do through experience, we collect things along the way. And I collected the skills to do presentations. So after a short retirement, after 20 years in the corporate life, I had some people encourage me to become a life coach. And I did that and loved the one-on-one and the fulfillment and just watching people really come into their fullness. And through that, however, the presentation skills and desire didn't go away. So through my work in coaching, I also began speaking. And so now I still coach, but I do more public speaking than I do coaching. So it's been a journey.
Right. Well, tell us more about that journey. So I'd love to hear sort of how you got to where you are today. And then you gave us a little bit of a overview, but a little more information on sort of what you really focus on today.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think we all start out looking for, the best job, our favorite job, something that we enjoy. And I'm not sure that any of us right out of college knows what that is. So it is a little bit of trial and error, and there's nothing wrong with that. I didn't go that route. I started in sales and I loved it, and I stayed there for 17 years. Just moved up the ranks into management. And that came from a desire that I was good at what I did, and I had won a bunch of the awards, but it was like, now it was time to give back, which means that when you step into leadership, you are offering someone else a step up. You are asking them, allowing them, giving them permission to step on your shoulders to reach their full potential. And so I did that for many years. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it means more work and less pay. So I didn't make as much money and I worked more hours during that time, but it was much more fulfilling. And so therein lies some of that work-life balance. And after having a couple kids and they were in their teens, my husband suggested I try to be a stay-at-home mom. That lasted 6 weeks because I had never done it, and it scared me to death. And after 6 weeks, I said, I need to go back to work. I need a vacation from this because that was a lot of work. So I did some consulting things. And then honestly, Leo, people, and I think we need to be very aware of this. And I really want to encourage your audience. Ask people, what do you think my gifts are? What do you see as my talent? Now, I didn't do that, but 3 people who were very close to me offered it without my request. And all 3 in different scenarios and different time frames in about a 3 to 4 month period of time said, Mary, I think you really need to look into life coaching. Well, I didn't know what that was 18 years ago. But when enough people said it, I decided to research it. And so I looked into it. I decided to go back to school. I got that credential. And then all coaching starts with life coaching. And then that's the foundation. And then on top of that, you build in more specifics. So I went into leadership coaching and specialized for the most part in communication and how people communicate with one another. So that has gone on for 18 years. But again, inside of that 18 years, people along the way said, you need to get involved in a chapter. You need to run a chapter. You need to do presentations about coaching, and gave me opportunities to do that. So I think all of our life journey is pushing a little bit on unopened doors and see what doors open and what doors bring us fulfillment and enjoyment. And also, a lot of us have a burning desire to share something with someone. And so that has happened through my coaching and through my speaking. And so that is where I am today. And I would encourage all your listeners to, to be open to what they hear other people say to them and encourage them to do.
Great. I think that's good advice. Thank you.
Yeah. And if I may say one other thing, a lot of emotion is attached to our work, how excited we are about it and whatever. And emotions are great things. But as I often say, emotions are not decision makers. They're indicators. So they may indicate something about where you are, what you're excited about, but they shouldn't be our driving decision makers.
Makes sense. Again, good advice. And what's family look like for you? What does family mean?
Family is obviously my core family is my husband and my two kids. I had a corporate career before I got married and had children. And so I stayed in the corporate world and I had help at home. And even after I left, I told my husband, I said, I think I need a little bit of a learning curve. So I think we need to keep the help at home until I figure out where the vacuum cleaner actually resides so that in the event I try to use it, I can find it. So we really worked with how that worked for our family. So our family was a family of 5 for a while. The lady who helped us lived with us. We took her on vacations with us. That is not the normal way, but that is how we did it. And then after being with us for about 9 years, we took it on ourselves. My husband and I decided what he liked to do and what I liked to do and what we were willing to spend money on in the in between. And I have a wonderful husband. And that is, his comment always has been to me, I will never ask you to do something I don't want to do. And I don't want to clean the house. So I don't expect you to do it. You can if you want, but I would, go get somebody to help you do that so that you can do other things. So, family represented a lot of playtime for us and our kids. And my husband retired the first time very, very early. He was 46 years old. Our son was in college. And so my husband and I became, the, teen parents of his lacrosse team while he was in college. And we traveled the United States. We went to every single game. So my kids have a little different remembrance of their growing up years than some kids do, but it worked for us because I think at the end of the day, it's your presence and your posture in love. And that's what they remember.
I think it's about being present and, there for your kids in whatever form that takes.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And it can be different for everybody and no judgment. Yeah.
Now,
my husband, previous job, he flew all over the place. So we had lots of miles and lots of points for hotels. And so we just traveled the country for a year following the Texas A&M lacrosse team and being at all those games. And it was great. So we took our daughter with us sometimes when she was out of school. And so that was great. And so that was, a whole year or a whole, season of lacrosse. And that was what our focus was at the time. And everybody doesn't get to do that. We don't get to do that now. Our kids are grown and gone. And so now the season is turned and we're looking at them and saying, where can we fit in? Where can we fit into your schedule so that we see you and we see our grandkids? And so I think inventorying your season in life, and as that season changes, is really important. And I think you would you know this better than anybody, Leo. People don't particularly care for change. And the thing they hate more than change is somebody trying to change them. So my husband and I really say, we're not going to try to change them. We're going to ask where we can fit into their schedule. And then we do the best we can to accommodate them.
I think that's the way to go. And what's health look like for you?
Health?
Yeah, whether that be nutrition, mental health, physical health, sleep. How does health look for you?
Oh, well, that's also a season and that's also been a journey. and probably, I've always been somewhat of an athlete. I've either swam, in high school and college, and I was on the diving team for a year. And then I stopped everything and went to work at a restaurant and discovered that eating, prime rib sandwiches and fully loaded baked potatoes at midnight after I got off did not do much for, for your waistline. Right. And so that was a big shift. And it was a long recovery time, honestly, for me to decide that I could look different than other people, and whether they liked it or not was on them. Because you find that you end up hanging out with people who are like you, and they don't want you to change. They don't want you to start eating clean, or they don't want you to start exercising because they don't want to do it. So there was a period in my life, probably 2 decades ago, where I made the conscious decision that my physical health, that is so closely tied with your mental health, that needed to change for me if I wanted longevity. And so, my eating drastically changed. I eat clean. I stay away from super processed food. That doesn't mean I won't grab a potato chip from you if you have a bag of Lay's open, but it will mean that I probably only will steal one. Right. And of course, depending on what it is, I may take two, but overall, I made a decision to change my eating. And then I discovered through trial and error, and I really think that's important. I mean, trying different things is where you'll find the best thing for you. And so I tried different things. I tried Pilates, and I tried bar classes, and I tried all different things. Cardio, I'm not a runner, but, I tried cycling. And I ended up trying weightlifting, and that is where I landed. And so, for me, at my age, and, bone health is important as women age and as we go through the different seasons of life. So I lift weights 3 times a week, and I do cardio the other 2. And, for the most part, I stay away from alcohol, but again, that's just me. I'd rather eat my calories, so, I do enjoy a margarita occasionally, but I am more likely to say no to that and then have, half a dozen chocolate covered almonds with Himalayan sea salt.
Sounds delicious. And what do you like to do for fun?
Well, okay. So this might, I'm just going to say it. I think I'm a really fun person. And so I intersect fun in almost everything I do. I intersect fun at the gym, with the people that I work out with because, I work really hard and then I complain really loud. And, and so that's just kind of fun. And my coaching, I coach on the telephone. So I never see my clients, but that doesn't mean you can't have a fun relationship with them. Right. And so I have very productive and fun relationships with my clients. And then I have a group of friends, a group of girlfriends and a group of couple friends and I'm the entertainment committee in my home. Entertainment only happens if I initiate it because I have a very introverted husband. So I respect that, but he knows that I have 250,000 words I need to use every day, and he only has 25,000. And so he's great with me going out with my girlfriends. He's like, go use all your words somewhere else. And so I have individuals that I go out and play with. And that looks like different things. It looks like walking and talking. Some of my friends are very athletic, so they drag me along with them. And some of them like to sit back with a glass of wine. So I like to believe that you can intersect fun in all your different, opportunities and all your different life experiences. And that's not to say, and I need to say this, and I think I told you, Leo, my family, had a tragic loss almost 2 years ago. Our daughter lost her husband in a very tragic accident. He was a military pilot, and there was a mishap during a deployment. And so our family has tasted trauma and loss. And for us, that's when you circle the wagons and family comes together, and your faith or your, spiritual, traditions come together to bolster you. And that's also when your friends come alongside and help you walk through it. And so the mental health part is so important. I personally believe that your mental health is a result of, or the ability for you to stay mentally healthy is a result of many things. First of all, your circle of friends. And second of all, understanding that the brain is going to want to isolate as soon as there's a trauma. That's its response. Okay. Because it does that to protect us. That's just neuroscience. That's not Mary Dunn's opinion. However, that's not the place to stay for healing. We have to come out of that isolation and allow other people to walk alongside of us in the way, however that looks. And a lot of times what you said earlier, Leo, that is just being present. You don't have to say a word. You just have to show up and say, I'm here. I'm going to hang out at your house. I'm going to read a book. If you need me, I'm here. If you want to go somewhere, I'm here. If you don't want to speak at all, I'm here.
And what has been a pivotal moment in your life?
Well, I think the loss of our son-in-law was one, in that we had to recognize what grief looked like in its full form. They had 3 daughters as well. So 6, 4, and 2. So we had little children involved in this, and that grief is not linear, that there is no judgment. People say things when they're grieving that they would never say in any other circumstance. So you have to have a lot of grace for people who would say things that maybe were, off-putting or out of line. So that was a huge learning curve. And it was great that we learned it, because this is what I do believe. My personal experience with that will eventually, in some way, form or fashion, be a healing component of somebody else's grief, because of what I went through and how I saw it play out and what I know to say and not to say. That will allow me to be a better friend and better helpmate to somebody who goes through a trauma. So I think big places like that, I think a hard season of marriage. Listen, relationships are tough, and good marriages, typically we don't marry somebody like us. We marry somebody very different. And for the first few years, that's all fun and games. And then you wake up and think, he irritates the bejeez out of me because, we're so different. And so that learning experience and tough places in marriage and being able to, hold your spot and get to the other side, that I know that has already been a healing place for other people. So I think there's pivotal places in a lot of places in our journey. And I think recognizing them. Yeah.
All helps define who we are and how we show up in the world.
And not advising. I mean, I would hate for your listeners to think that because I've been through this, if I see somebody else who's been through this, I immediately step in. That's not it. I mean, the coaching model is still the most powerful. And that is, to ask the question, how can I help? What do you need? A lot of times people don't know. And so you can just be there, but it's asking permission to step into that place in their life and hold that space for them. So we have to be really careful that we don't see somebody going through something we've been through and jump in and say, well, let me tell you what worked for me. And let me tell you the way out of that. Because there's no 2 circumstances that are the same. None. Never. And, so everybody's circumstance is different. And so you have to respect that. And respect comes, through the ability to ask a question and not assume. that you know the answer.
I love that. I think it makes complete sense.
Uh,
What is one piece of advice you could give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
oh gosh. One, by this time, I have a hard time answering with one thing, but I would say, uh, you know, I would say if you have a passion for something, if you can articulate what you want to do and why you want to do it, then I would ask a close confidant if they see those gifts and talents in you. And, and if, if you have confirmation from a couple people or even one person, or if you're a person of faith and you hear that still small voice that says, this is the way, then start pushing on doors, start tapping on some doors and see if they open um, and recognize. I think if you ask me for one piece of advice, if a new entrepreneur has started something, I would say be prepared for the messy middle because it will come. And in that messy middle, you have to remember your why because you're going to want to quit. And so your why has to be big enough and strong enough to get you through the messy middle. And there's a messy middle in everything, right? Relationships, writing books, working out, Yeah.
There definitely is. And well, thank you. And how can people find you?
I available online, marykdunn.com. That's my website. And, or mary@marykdunn.com. You can email me. And I'd love to chat with you either about coaching or, I speak in secular organizations, training on communications. If that's something, if you have, an organization that, or currently working for an organization that has some, complications with communications, I'm your girl.
Well, thank you. And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and please leave a review.